It's 1984 all over again. Raoul Peck takes a look at the life and work of the legendary author and how they keep remaining so goddamn relevant. It's Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5.
Why didn't we listen? George Orwell has been warning us for decades now, and we didn't listen, and here we are. And that is the point of this movie, how painfully relevant his writing was.
The very concept of objective truth is fading out of this world.
I'm going to set down what I dare not say aloud to anyone.
What Raoul Peck has done here is similar structurally to what he did with his James Baldwin documentary, I Am Not Your Negro, which earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Documentary Feature several years back. And basically it's like a poetic video essay.
Yeah.
And it is taking the base material of Orwell's writing, his diary entries and his letters, and Damian Lewis voices this in very hushed, intimate tones. It will make you want to lean in and listen. And so you're hearing about what Orwell was thinking as he was nearing the end of his life, and he was sick with tuberculosis. But also it is this pastiche of like different depictions of Orwell's work, whether it is the filmed versions of 1984 or art that was inspired by Animal Farm. And there was an Animal Farm movie, at least one Animal Farm.
There were several
movie.
Animal Farm animated films that pop up here. Yeah.
And then also contrasting those with what is happening in our world in the present day.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's January 6th, and yes, there is some Trump stuff in here, but there's also authoritarian figures from all around the world.
Yeah.
And just sort of marrying Orwell's words from decades ago. Like it was like the late 40s, I think he died.
The book came out in 48, I want to say.
Yeah, he died soon after that. So, and marrying it with what was happening in our world today.
Yeah.
And it's sort of dizzying, when it gets its arms around a lot in the way that it jumps around in time. Raoul Peck is from Haiti originally and has lived in a couple different places where, the countries have been under authoritarian regimes, military dictatorships. I moderated a Q&A with him last weekend when the film opened, and he was talking about how you know it when you see it. And this is new for all of you here in the United States. But the things that you are seeing in terms of the encroachment on your rights and free speech and the lying to your face about things that you can see and hear plainly, all of that, all those tactics he has seen throughout. Portland. Yeah, exactly. And so things that, are demonstrably false, the administration will try and tell you are true. And this is where the title comes from. It's from 1984, 2 + 2 = 5. And just the idea of trying to convince you of something that is not true. And the more they say it, the more they are hammering it home. And so I was just impressed with the span of it, and the marrying of the juxtaposing of Orwell's words with modern day images, and it just gives you a lot to think about.
Yeah, I love a good video essay, and Peck is one of the greatest ones out there who making these. And yeah, he'll draw in visuals from films that don't have anything to do with Orwell necessarily, but that kind of capture what they're talking about. Like there's a sequence that involves these legendary close-ups of Anna Maria Falconetti from the trial of Joan of Arc, for instance, but it's relevant to what they're talking about. And we get a lot of Orwell's life as well, and where all of this comes from, because on the one hand, you've got Animal Farm, which is this very rabidly anti-communist, sort of Soviet book that, we were all taught in high school and told about, how terrible Soviet regimes are. Nobody had us read Homage to Catalonia, where we talk about Orwell went to Spain to help fight the fascists, So he was against authoritarians on both sides. You can't easily parse him as a right-left guy. He is a, believer in liberty, a believer that words have meaning, a believer that, that people have the freedom to speak and assemble and, all of that other stuff. And that once a government starts telling you what the facts are, and not, and shutting down anybody who disagrees with them, that's when you're in trouble. This was a fucking bummer. Let me tell you. I currently have I try not to get online after about 9 Because if I start scrolling before bed, it's just like, you know, what am I watching at 10 o'clock last night? This movie, and just being like, oh my God.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's the job, you know, but it's great. And I recommend that people should see it. It is incredibly urgent right now. Mm-hmm. And I think, and it's not just the things you think it's going to be, because so often the language goes to Orwellian places and we don't even think about it anymore. So like when economists start throwing around terms like austerity, you know, or cuts, and it's basically all these things that make rich people are going to be great and you're fucked sound better, you know, and the way that like how all the different terms that are used for bombing strikes now that aren't bombing strikes, you know, we get all these different sort of things. And that is pure, like kind of newspeak of like, let's take this terrible thing. I still remember when ethnic cleansing became a thing in the 90s. And that's just fucking despicable. You're talking about genocide, but you make it sound like you're cleaning the bathroom. I mean, it's just awful. So yeah, we're living in the world that he saw around him. It wasn't like, you know, he was Nostradamus. This was already a thing that he had witnessed firsthand. But boy, are we like, you know, ignoring every warning he gave us.
Yeah. And he's not just condemning, you know, any particular governments or regimes, but like the media itself and how in various media outlets will just regurgitate phrases like ethnic cleansing or whatever. There's this one segment where they have all these different local stations saying the exact same thing. This is extremely dangerous for our democracy. This is extremely dangerous for our democracy. And they stand like their furrowed brows and they look very concerned.
Those are
like
all Sinclair
changes.
Stations, by the way.
Oh,
I remember when that happened, somebody posted that montage on YouTube because, the Sinclair owned stations made all of their news shows read this same editorial verbatim. And so somebody clipped it all together and was like, oh, yeah, this is fucking bullshit, you know? Yeah,
they're not looking out for anyone. They're not there to like find the truth. They are there to regurgitate what they are being told to say. So, so that was kind of eye opening. Yeah, like it will make you stop and think about things that are happening all around us all the time that we've just gotten accustomed to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sometimes you realize, oh, I have been the frog in the pot of boiling water. And you slowly get used to things. You get used to them. And then at some point you have to go, wait, no, this is not how things are supposed to be, you know? Yeah.
And the term Orwellian has been tossed around so much in the past decade or so. But this movie shows how various sides can use it for their own purposes.
Oh yeah. No. I remember there was this hot moment where all the conservative commentators pretended like they had read 1984, and I was like, but I think maybe you got the wrong message here. I don't know, just me, but you know, yeah. So this is, I think he lays it out really well, and you know, and look, both parties are often guilty of this sort of thing, but where we are right now, that's one party and they're doing it hard.
Yeah. I will say though that, you know, at least in my own son's high school, he's a sophomore in high school, they're reading Animal Farm and 1984 this year. So schools are still teaching it. So I have hope. This movie is a fucking bummer, as you put it, but like, I also have hope that maybe people are gonna, you know, pay attention more, learn something now. I cannot be hopeless. And so
no, indeed not. And I'm sure both those books pop up on a lot of banned books lists in various parts of the country. But, you know, hopefully a movie like this sneaks through and, you know, finds its way into people's homes if the other way can't. So, you know, I'm glad it exists.
Yes. What's your number?
I'll say a 9. I think it's very, like, it is incredibly urgent, incredibly timely filmmaking. And it's sort of like what we were talking about with, you know, One Battle After Another, where you're not quite sure when it's set. It's like, this would have been incredibly urgent 20 years ago. And it will sadly probably remain incredibly urgent 20 years from now. So I think it's good to be reminded of all these things that we know about how human beings govern and how, you know, they allow themselves to be governed.
Yeah. And it took him 3.5 years to edit this thing.
Wow.
So it's been relevant for a long time.
Yeah.
I will say an 8.5.
Okay.
So Orwell 2 + 2 = 5 came out in limited release this past weekend and is going wider. So keep an eye out and see if it's playing near you.